Previously, we have introduced to you to smart converter as wireless peer-to-peer, which is our own method of pairing between reader, barrier or door with the controller. This time, we are introducing to you to smart converter as an access control and how we can replace existing standalone controllers with this. Let me introduce to you MicroID's smart controller. But first, let's look into standalone controllers and their pros and cons. Actually, standalone controllers solves a problem for access control being managed by the software. There are situations where it's hard to set up a communication between software and controller, or it's too much of a cost to just for a few controllers. So standalone controllers is cost effective and lesser maintenance. Many standalone is able to be in every kind of situations or environments. The cons, even though we said there is no need for communication between the software and controller, but without the software, maintaining many users at a single time is difficult, as well as updating new settings or configuration as well. So this is the pros and cons of standalone controllers. MicroID's standalone controller. Okay, let me rephrase that again. MicroID's smart controller. From the image, you can see that our smart controller is quite small. Compared to a standard RFID card, it is still smaller. As you can see in the image there, that controller and the RFID card itself. Anyway, even though it's small, it still is able to do everything that we want it to do or want it to perform. So any controllers, we will always need an output, a relay output. So we have one relay output on this controller. Plus we have two readers. One of the reader is reader 1, comes along with a push button as well. And the connector for reader 2, which also has a door sensor input as well. Reader 2 is special a bit. Reader 2 can work as input or Wiegand output. Okay, so in that case we are able to use this as to output as a Wiegand to other controllers. So when we receive certain inputs to this controller, you can make it output. So when we will be using these outputs for any kind of conditions, you will see it later. Okay, one of it you'll see it now itself actually. Optionally, we have 433 megahertz receiver. This receiver, okay, because we have an inbuilt decoder, 433 RF decoder. So when we attach this 433 megahertz receiver, we are able to receive any type of remotes and convert them into a Wiegand card number. So this Wiegand card number can be used into the access control itself, or I can output it as a Wiegand output to the other controllers as well, using this part. But in this cases, let's concentrate as a access control. Okay, so in that cases, all the remotes, you are able to use them as a Wiegand card. What else we have is RTC, real-time clock. So real-time clock, I don't have to mention what it does. It keeps track of time. And we have RS485 input and output for other purpose, other usage as well. So this is our complete smart controller. Let's look into a small video demo, the usage of a smart controller.
Okay.
Let us show you how easy it is to use the smart controller. As you can see, we cannot access the door. So what can we do? Let's use the phone app, change the settings. We go to the user list, find for that user, and once we find the user, we will change his time profile. So from time it's zone 8 to 0. And now we will upload the list to the controller. That's how easy it is. Our smart controller also have a DIN rail case. So it beautifully, nicely fits into the enclosure of DIN rail enclosure, and we are able to strap it into a barrier gate or any DIN rail surface. Or even you can use this enclosure as a box itself to keep it there. This image illustrates how does the DIN rail enclosure looks like, and the size of the DIN rail enclosures, and how we fit in the controller to it. Applications of the smart controller. We have a smart controller, we have multiple different types of readers, and we bring the readers to the smart controller to make it into a standalone access control, or so-called standalone. Why is it we separated out the reader and the controller? If you've seen that standalone controllers, most of it comes as one package system. Okay, the controller and the reader are built in together itself. We separated this out so that we are able to choose any types of design of readers to work with the controller. This way, you can, the users who wants a certain specific looks and design on their surface, they don't have to worry about. Or even your existing customers who has different types of readers already fit in, they just need to purchase the controller to make it to work together. The features of the smart controller. Our smart controller has 2500 card access. So we have a database which can support up to 2500 card access. The card access, the binary numbers, it can support between 26 bits to up to 66 bits. Okay. So we are depending on the reader, whether you have a 26-bit reader or 34-bit reader, or in the future coming anything 48-bit or 66 bits, we are able to support those readers as well. So in the Wiegand type of readers, we already fit into the up to 66 bits. Plus, what else we have? Common pin access. So you can have, if you have a keypad reader which is attached to the smart controller, you can use the common pin to access the door itself. Okay, so we have 4 of the common pin. User pin access. This is something that we don't have. User pin is normally accessed by the user individually have their own pins. So in the smart controller, we don't have this user pin access right now. Or I'm not sure whether we'll have it in the future or not, but I will say that we don't have it. Push button. There's one push button to trigger to open the door. Door sensor to immediately lock, to sense the door and to lock. Readers, we have 2. Okay, and here I didn't mention that yes, one of the readers can be used as an output, Wiegand output. Time zones profile. So we can adjust around 9 profiles. Actually, 8 profile is the one that you can adjust, and one of it is the free access time zone. So totally you have your 9. Holiday list. So holidays, you can have around 20 holiday lists. Okay, so you can set 20 holidays. And timer or sounder, you can have around 16 of it. Okay, so in the timer or sounder, you can adjust the permanent open and close or certain other features of automations of it. Now, smart controller, in our this one, we have additional 3 more functions that is unique. We are able to access, use the smart controller as a Bluetooth access. Okay, we can actually receive Bluetooth signals to enable to trigger to open the door. Or we have our Bluetooth app which acts as access card as a Bluetooth app. Encrypted dynamic QR. So we are able to use QR to access the controller, and QR becomes an a card access. As well as we have 433 RF remote which can access as a card as well. That means you can use the RF 433 to access the door, and each RF remote is unique to its as if it's a card number. Every RF transmission has a unique number. So we are decoding the number, and we are able to identify the number and use it as our access control as well. Smart controller. So how do we configure our smart controller? Normally, any type of standalone controllers, okay, you can control them, you can add or set the configuration by using a master card. So you have a default card which will be used for configuration. So in our smart controller also, we can use that as same method as well. Additionally, we do have a keypad method. So even keypad method also you can use. You go through a configuration menu, okay, you have a documentation which will tell you how to enter into the programming mode and how to install card or delete card, those functionality. But these methods are always tedious. So we also have now in our smart controller, we have web browser. Web browsers has all the explanatory of this is already in the web browser, because now you are able to see them, view them, and able to configure. That's make our smart controller a bit more powerful, because we have inbuilt web browser built inside the microcontroller itself. Additionally, you are able to use phone app. Phone app is something that we can extend the managing and maintaining the user list, user informations, card numbers, and details. And we are able to frequently change their time zone or settings. PC app and phone app, they are identically same. There's no differences between those two. So, but what we are trying to say is, we are able to access our smart controller not only by MasterCard or keypad, but we are able to configure them as well. We are using web browser, phone app, and PC app. Even though we have other ways, we have the web, phone app, and PC to do the configuration. In our next video demo, we are onwards, we are only going to concentrate on the phone app as our primary configuration. So we will guide you through our phone app, how to add and remove or do any type of settings based on that. Let's look into the app functions. The app have two user logins. One is an admin login and another is a user login. Here we log in as an admin mode. In admin mode, you have full control over the app. You get to access all the functionality of the app. Currently you can see that you have user list, time zone, Sonder, and holiday list, exporting database and importing database, and additionally settings and logout. Well, this is the main dashboard page where you download data to the smart controller. We shall explore some of the app functionalities. First, we check out the user list. Here, we manage the card holders and their names. For example, let's add a new user. We can add the card number in hex format, 10-digit or 8-digit, depending on the reader's number capabilities. Here, for demo purposes, let's use the 8-digit. As you can see that for 8-digit, you need to have the comma in the number system. Then we select the time zone and we give a name and just add that particular user into the database. Let's say in the database, you have 2000 over names and cards. We can actually search them using the search bar. You can search them by name, or you can even search by their card numbers. Well, of course, the card numbers, you need to select whether you want to search by hexa value or the 8-digit value. Every numbers you add in, the database actually stores all the numbers in the hexa value. But for our references is the purpose, it converts the hex value numbers into 10-digit or 8-digit. Okay. The controller, our smart controller is able to use up to 66 bits actually. So that means the hexa value numbers we can actually put in around 16 characters. Now Standalone is much more smarter already. Let's look into our next function, the time zone. Time zone has 8 zones. Each of it has 2 slots with start time and end time. Let's do an example. We'll set a start time and end time. When you click on the time slot, a time selection pops out. So now we can select the time. Let's do the second slot. Additionally, you can select the days as well. You can define which days that this slot should take place. And you can see that we have a holiday day as well for selection. So that's it. And you can see on the bar there all the details. The next function is a bit unique. It is known as Sonder or timer. It actually is an automation where we can automate the system how you want it to behave. In access control, we use them as permanent open or permanent close. In here, we have selected as on, which is permanent open. Then following time, we are selecting as off, which is permanent close. Then we need to set the system back to normal. So once we have selected, we select the normal state, and as well, we can select the days where we want it to work. Set the time, and you have then the system will start working according to that time. Sonder is a bit straightforward. It's very simple and very simple to set. So the next function is the holiday function. So we have 20 lists. We can set actually 20 holiday lists. We can select which dates are the holidays and give a name. Of course, the date is the one is the most important than compared to the name. The days we select it as a holiday, when we upload to the controller on that particular day, it will follow as holiday. This is also pretty much straightforward and simple to set. We have covered most of the smart controllers function. Alright, so now we can look into what else this app can do. One of the functions we have is importing users from the Excel sheet. You can prepare an Excel sheet with the user's name, card number, and even time profile. Then you can import it through the Excel itself. Now let's try to import an example Excel which we already prepared earlier. See there, I'm selecting the Excel and select. Now we can actually view the names. Once we are satisfied with the name, so we know that we imported the right one, we can save the file. It will save it into the database. So now we can do it the opposite, where we can export our database into Excel. So you can keep this as your backup or as your reference into your system. Connectivity. How will we update to the smart controller? Before we can upload, we need to establish connection to the controller. So the first method of connection is the direct method, where we use the smart controller as a Wi-Fi hotspot and connect to it directly from the phone. So this way we have purely established the communication between the phone and the controller. Let's go into our second method. The second method is known as local network. So what happens is, how do I connect to the controller is, I control them via a router. So the first device, the smart controller, will be connected to the router, and my phone is already been connected to the router. So this way, we now able to communicate to the controller via the router itself. So this is, we established a local network to bring out this connectivity. The third method of connectivity is something similar to the local network, but now we are using the wide network. Wide area network is known as, we are trying to do a connection between us to the controller via the internet. So now the same thing, the Wi-Fi, the controller, smart controller is connected Wi-Fi with the router. The router, now we do a port forwarding, which will enable us using the app to communicate to the controller through the internet. So this is our third method, known as wide network. So as you can see that we have many different ways that we can establish the connectivity. We are able to do either direct method or Wi-Fi method, which is our local network method, or even the final method is known as port forwarding, where we can access it from outside the premise through the internet as well. Let's now look into how we're going to upload the data. We already established the connectivity. Okay, we already chose the method where how we want to use the connectivity method. So we can proceed uploading the settings and the card list to the controller. So in the next one, we'll show a video demo which will explain each and every one of the procedures. Let's upload card list DB to the controller. Once I click, it'll give me a selection. Then once I selected, I am able to upload to the all the controllers. Same goes to Sonder timer. This time I select direct. As you can see that it's taking some time, because right now we are connected through Wi-Fi. So we are only able to upload through the Wi-Fi list. So let's look into all the other examples. We will upload one by one to all the controllers. Sync time. Sync time is synchronizing the time between the phone and the device. Now let's go into the example known as download. So card list download. Card list download is, we are downloading the entire card list which is installed in the controller. Then we can select which controller we want to download from, and when we download, it will store as an Excel. So now we select a location where we want to save the Excel file. That's it. Now we have downloaded all the card numbers from the controller to the list. New cards is for the purpose of, I want to download only the card numbers which is not in my database. That means I have already created a database, and when I'm downloading new cards, it will check. Now let's go look at some of the how the Excel file looks like. We'll go into the location where we downloaded that file and open. This is in my mobile, so you can see that it's more like mobile look. Right, open in Excel, and you can see there's 3 columns. The first column is all the card numbers. Second is all the names. The names only appear if it's in the database. And the third one is the time profile. Okay, so you have seen right now how to use the app to upload the details. We'll go into the web browser, a quick look into it. Okay, I'm not going to explain very detailed and every function of the web, but I just want to show you the overview of the web itself. Web browser. We have an inbuilt web browser. Alternatively, we also can access the bot directly to its web browser to set it up. So first we select the bot's IP address. Then once we access, we are able to we need to key in the username and password. Then finally we are able to access the web browser. Web browser has all the necessary settings which the app is able to do, and plus there are additional setups that also web browser can do. For instance, this one has time profile, which is same as the app. Sounder and timer, you are able to set the sounder and timer here as well. This is the additional board settings. Board settings is you prepare the board how it should behave. And user cards, you can add the user cards here. As we mentioned, our smart controller is able to accept Bluetooth and QR, especially the Bluetooth. Bluetooth requires us to have a separate app, which is known as MicroID Button. So using this app, you are able to transmit your signal, Bluetooth signal, as a card number to the controller. Same goes to the QR. In QR, we are generating a dynamically generated QR which has encrypted function towards it. So every QR you generate has a different code. This will makes it hard for anyone to copy the QR and reuse the QR. So additionally, we have another one more which we'll discuss in the next video presentation. In the next video demo, we will explain you how we are using the QR and the Bluetooth, plus additionally the 433 wireless remote as well. Smart controller accepts Bluetooth. So using the Bluetooth app, we'll press the button and we get granted access. Additionally, we can use QR to access the door. The QR is generated dynamically. When a valid QR is shown, the door access is granted. RF remote. We have many different types of RF remotes. We have switch types, we do have a keychain type, and we also have our own custom transmission as well. And this one is the keychain type. RF remote, also you can attach a time zone towards it. We can use the RF remote and restrict the usage of it by giving it a time zone. So this video will gives you the overview, an example that is exactly same as how you manage a user. You can manage the RF remote as a user as well. With that video, we have covered about our smart controller. Before we end our presentation, we would like to share additional information what we can use the controller with in other use cases. As we mentioned, we can use the controller as a Wiegand output. So in that cases, we are able to convert Bluetooth to Wiegand, or encrypted QR to Wiegand, or even all the RF remotes into Wiegand. So we have our controller. Right now it acts as like a reader to an existing controller. That means you have customers already have a controller, or you're going to use a different types of model so that you can use the controller software. So now you can use our smart controller as a reader towards the existing controller. So now you connect the Wiegand output to the reader input of the existing controller. So this way, when a user clicks their RF remote or using the Bluetooth app, right, the Wiegand output sends the transmission to the controller. Then how about the QR? So the QR, you can attach a QR reader to the input of the our smart controller. Then when the QR is encrypted QR is shown, it will decode in our controller and send as a Wiegand output of the data to the existing controller. So now you can manage the users and all that with the existing controller software. Okay, one of the beauty about this is there's what you can do is you actually can have a software developers or VMS integration easily can be implemented with this condition. Okay, so that means you don't need to integrate the existing controller software, how to do that part. You can actually make your own QR QR readers. Then you can output that as a Wiegand to the controller. Of course, because we are encrypting the QR, so we have a QR time-bound condition itself. So this is an extra condition if so anyone wants to do customizations. Smart remote. Before I talk about smart remotes, let's look into our previous remotes. Previously, we used to have remotes where we press the button to open the door. So we use this remote with existing controllers or existing doors. Okay, their function is very straightforward. You press the button, they open the door. But this has a small limitation. You have no idea who is opening the door, who is the one who is controlling the door, and if you want to remove it or delete it also, you have no other choice in this process itself. Okay, one of the other things that if your existing controller, like the previous one, what we discussed was the as a reader to the existing controller, you can add and remove the card number based on the RF remote. But what happens is you are just using it as a remote itself. So you can use our controller to replace this the existing remotes, okay, and use them as time-bound remote accessibility. You are able to control time zone, timer, and you can even create the remotes can be used in certain holidays or even change the relay state. When you press a remote, the relay permanently opens or permanently closes, okay, in a certain time zone remotes, or in another one more, the remote is able to open it in pulse, momentary. So you have independence in configuring your remote and how you want it to work. So if there is a need, some very time conditions and all that, you don't need to buy an access control or a standalone control separately and combine them together. Our smart controller is able to act as a smart remote and solve all the problem. Our next feature is sounder or timer. It is purely based on the time clock, where time automated triggers take place. Normally in school and factories or etc., okay, where the time driven bells happens. But yes, you can actually trigger other than bells because it's a relay which is triggering. So depending whether you want to trigger lights or something like that. But you know the concept of school where time periodical time will trigger the sound bells for your next classes. So we are able to use our smart controller to do these functions as well. Right? You are able to select your relay type itself. It's not only that you only have momentary, okay, you are able to set it as permanently on how long or off when. So you are able to toggle or trigger in any ways you want. So the relay is also independent for your own trigger methods. Our momentary timer is not is between 1 second. Actually, it's from 1 second all the way to 8 hours. So you're able to set a momentary time even for 8 hours. Right? Okay, thank you. This is our end of our presentation. I hope that I have covered and explained well. Yeah. If there's any improvements I need to do, please tell me. If there's any questions, please do ask. And we are here to enlighten you with anything that we can actually solve your problems actually. So even you can tell us if you have any other problems, you can tell us, and maybe we can come up with the solutions. Thank you.